Okay, so the class is now being recorded. And this is me again, Dr. Samh, and this is EA300B. So what is it that we're doing tonight? Like I said, we are finishing off the Tale of Peter Rabbit. We're going to talk about the themes and the ideas. We're going to perhaps revisit issues that we have already spoken about, and then talk about this kind of integration between the image and the text, and how this is reflected in reinforcing certain ideas that the writer is promoting. Remember, she was neutral for the most part. And then after we're done with that, we are going to make the transition to Voices in the Park, another picture book. So how much do you still remember about the Tale of Peter Rabbit? In terms of ideas, it's a basic structure. It's keep in mind that it's a picture book, which means that it's not big and it's not a mainstream novel where you have hundreds of pages, where you have straight introductions, bodies, and you don't have the complexities of so many characters and how they kind of cross path and stuff like that. So it may seem, I mean, the picture book may seem simple and simplistic, but there is obviously more to it than just that, right? So what are some of the ideas that came to your mind when you by now you have read the picture book, I gather and I assume. Together with the discussions that we started last time, we've been doing this for the past 10 days. Remember, we met twice, and this is our third class. So you must have enough knowledge and enough exposure to this picture book. So tell me about it. When I say the Tale of Peter Rabbit, what comes to your mind? Not the plot, not the story, because I know the story, right? And we're talking about the underlying ideas, the ideologies, if you like. What did we talk about? Maram Muhammad.
Yes, doctor. So we talked about anthropomorphism, how
Anthropomorphism, yes. Yes.
yes, how it was history and tradition.
Yeah.
We talk about some critics, how they viewed the novel. Some of them focused on the history of the author, Beatrix.
Not that
Um,
I mean, you mean her biography.
yes,
Oh, yeah. Good. Okay.
yeah, yeah. Uh, Yeah, that's all I can remember.
Yeah, that's good. That's okay. So it's good that you have mentioned the idea of anthropomorphism. So can somebody come and explain what anthropomorphism means and how this is reflected in the picture book? Let's go to Diala.
Yes, doctor. That means that the animals have the attributes and the attitudes of a human being, and that mentioned in the story or in the novel, how the rabbit Peter is just trying to attitudes like a human, um, and
How is this reflected? You're talking about this genre, this idea, or this perhaps literary form where animals are depicted as human beings. They are given human characteristics and features and attributes.
yeah,
They
it's shown by yeah.
wait. Okay, I'm explaining the concept and then you give me examples from the picture book. Okay, so what I'm trying to say is that this kind of genre, um, those kinds of tales, those anthropomorphic tales, have always been there. We go back in history as far as the Greeks with Aesop. Aesop was a Greek uh, uh, fabulist, if you like. I mean, he used to write fables where you normally have animals given human attributes and human features. They think like us, they love and hate and betray, they dress like us. Okay, so this is with a moral lesson at the end normally. Okay, let's apply this to uh, um, the tale of Peter Rabbit. So we're saying that it is an anthropomorphic piece of work. Let's have somebody else talk about that. We have somebody's raising her
Hello.
hand. Yeah, we have Fatma and Bara. We can have space for both, and even Aya. Let's start with Fatma and then move on to Bara and then Aya. Yalla, go ahead. And Sarah حتى, inshallah. Yeah, go ahead.
Do you mean me, Fatma? I don't know if
Yeah,
there's
I
another
think
one.
you were raising your hand, if I'm not
Actually I didn't
mistaken.
raise my hand, sorry.
Yeah, yeah, that's fine. Okay, let's go all the way to Bara.
Yes, sir. In Peter Rabbit by Beatrix Potter, we can see many examples, such as he was like a human, exhibit like traits such as wearing clothes, speaking, and we can say engaging in activities typically associated with humans, like going on adventures and getting uh, in some communities. Peter Rabbit wears a jacket and the clothes, I think, yeah. Also shoes, talks to other animals and faces consequences for disobeying his mother also. So this is a
What's the
human cap.
significance? Let's move to the significance and the underlying significance. Obviously, it's not, there is more to it than just dressing him in human apparel, than making him speak. Why? Why do you think Potter is doing that or was doing that? Is there a
Um,
significance?
for moral lessons, of course, because when they give him the characteristic of a human being, typically they give it for animals or objects. The technique is often used to make the story more relatable or to convey
Yeah,
the
relatable. Yes.
certain,
I
yeah,
mean, the whole story, or perhaps the character of Peter, because he is the one. I mean, he is obviously the only
he's the
active
main, he's the main character.
character. He moves, he engages in an adventure, he take risks.
Exactly.
Okay. So, do you think dressing him or giving him human apparel, making him speak and run and feel those kinds of feelings. This having him behave like humans would make our connection to him perhaps stronger. We will feel empathetic towards him.
Yes, yes, especially
Okay.
for kids.
Okay, let's move to somebody else. Thank you, Bara. Let's move to Aya. I wanted to talk about anthropomorphism or something else.
Yes, doctor, but mashallah, Bara said other things I want to say.
Okay, nice.
Thank you, doctor.
You're welcome. Sarah, you wanted to say something?
Um, uh, I would love to, but same, mashallah, Bara, I did
Mm.
it all. But
I
maybe I
mean,
can add one
yeah,
small thing. Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yes, go ahead.
Um, how they pictured Peter in the tale, it can goes for both adults and children. And the fantasy side of him talking and wearing human clothes and the way he contact with his mother, maybe that's another point to say it for the ant
And
antomorph.
anthropomorphism, you mean?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Um, can I ask you? I mean, lots of us are using S or Z at the end of clothes. Can I ask you to stop at clothes? Don't use. People are saying clothes, which is obviously wrong. Clothes. You need to have a hamza at the end. Clothes, and then you die or something. Okay. please don't stress the last syllable or the last word, the other S or Z. Um, okay. So I think I have a question. One of the questions came, and I think it was recent, and it was about this idea of anthropomorphism. Let me see if I can locate it. Yeah, I think this is the one. Okay, look at this. So in Beatrice Potter's The Tale of Peter Rabbit, her use of anthropomorphism enhances the reader's connection to Peter Rabbit as a child. First of all, do you agree with this statement that using anthropomorphism enhances and increases our connection, or perhaps it strengthens this kind of connection to? Of course, the connection is a positive and a good one. You feel for the guy. You Hello, can you still hear me? Because somebody was knocking on.
Yes, yes, we can, sir.
Yes. Let me go back. بعدين somebody is, yeah. Okay. So I was talking about the idea of anthropomorphism and how this kind of how it reinforces this kind of connection between us as readers and uh, Peter, the rabbit. Okay. I would like you to read this and see whether you agree with this or not. I'll give you perhaps a couple of minutes to read it and think about it and reflect on it. Sorry. So do you guys agree with this?
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Yes. So anthropomorphism is not just there, yani for the fun of it. It plays and it serves a purpose, and the purpose is about uh, um, establishing this kind of connection between the readers, especially the young among them, and Peter, and not only Peter, because obviously Peter is not the only one who is behaving like a human being. His mom is also behaving like a human being, even his sisters. But perhaps it's even more pronounced with Peter because he is the protagonist. He's the main character, and he is the one who takes risks. He is the one who is more active, is very vibrant. Um, so again, anthropomorphism In terms of how we see it, in terms of features of anthropomorphism, you would have the way he dresses, the fact that he wears a jacket, and sometimes the jacket is taken off because he was running, and the significance of that. And then the idea of him, uh, um, we haven't heard, because we're not part of that. We haven't heard of rabbits disobeying their moms. Obviously, human beings are the only creatures who rebel and transgress. So to have the rabbit disobeying his mom is also another anthropomorphic feature, right? Um, the idea of, you know, going into an adventure and not calculating the consequences, these are all things that human beings engage in and do. Okay, so again, anthropomorphism is there for a purpose and for a reason, and it's not just an embellishment or something, or it's not decorative. Um, and this is something that we're going to see repeated in Voices in the Park, where we're going to have gorillas, and gorillas are obviously animals. Again, they behave like human beings. They express, I mean, views of different classes. We have the snobbish among them. We have the poor. We have the unemployed. So again, the idea of having animals behaving like human beings is obviously uh, um, a good tool and device that writers are using in order to perhaps make uh, the the messages they have very clear and very explicit. Again, we're talking about adventure. We're talking about taking risks, and that would lead us to, I mean, ideas like when people take risks, and sometimes those risks are calculated. Calculated means that you know that you are in for dangerous things, but you still hope against hope that you come out of it victorious, and also more mature. So taking risks and going into adventures are not always bad. Uh, for how else will you learn if you don't take calculated risks, if you don't venture, right? So if you stay put and you don't do anything, how can you learn to swim unless you go and perhaps plunge yourself into the sea or into the swimming pool, right? So taking risks and going into adventures are not always bad news. And this is what perhaps the picture book is trying to stress. Look at the character of Peter and compare him to the character of his sisters, for example. So you're going to find his sisters very dull. You cannot really identify with them, even though you are, uh, I mean, ladies and girls like them, but you would feel more at home with Peter rather than with his. Am I, perhaps I'm assuming too much. Perhaps this is not the feeling and the impressions that you have. What do you think?
No, I think you're right, doctor.
Hmm. Okay, so the idea of adventure, the idea of going in adventures, obviously, is not always bad, provided that it's calculated. You know what you want from the adventure and why you're there and stuff like that. Diala, you're raising your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, doctor, can we say in this point that this is something related to gender, that taking risk it's only about male for male gender and female no, or we cannot in this?
Well,
hard.
this is what we call a social construct. This is something
Okay.
that society made. It's not that girls and women cannot take risks, and it's not that all men can take risks. No, this is what society made us think. Women are capable of doing everything, and obviously there are men who are not capable of doing everything. So this is what we call stereotyping, where we are made to believe that men are perhaps more powerful, that they are stronger, they can do this and do that, and women are kind of meek, feeble, weak, non-assertive. So obviously, the picture book is reinforcing those ideas, unfortunately. Whether Beatrice Potter was aware of what she is doing or not, this is perhaps the subject of another day. But what appears to us is that stereotypes are being, kind of consolidated and are being expressed. And the big stereotype is that men and boys are strong and they are risk takers, they can do this and that, and girls are non-assertive, are weak, are very obedient and very submissive, right? I
Right,
think
and
yeah,
this
go
is
ahead.
being taught. Sorry, doctor, I'm very
Yeah,
sorry
that's
to.
fine. Yeah, go on.
Yeah, and this idea of stereotyping men and women, um, it's been taught to us since we were kids, and even when, growing up, we can still see it in multiple novels
Yes.
and books and movies and etc. etc.
Yeah, because we normally refer to the world that we live in as a male-dominated world, a world where men they call the shots, like they say. I mean, they decide them. But perhaps this is changing. I mean, the perceptions are changing. Women are now more empowered than ever before. They have jobs, they go out, and they have careers of their own. Um, and I mean, life and the world is changing, I promise you. But the stereotype is still there in rural areas, in villages, for example, in faraway places, with tribes, for example. You still have those concepts that men are more capable and more, um, kind of uh, more reliable than women. I think I have something about this. Let me see if I can have it. Wait. Yeah, I think I have this. Going to like it. Okay. So when I say, for example, that in Beatrice Potter's The Tale of Peter Rabbit, the concept of adventure contributes to Peter's growth and mature. Do you agree with the statement that adventure and engaging in adventure contributes to Peter's growth and maturity? I mean, he grows not physically, he grows mentally, he grows morally, and he becomes mature. Mature means that he became perhaps wiser. He became, he understood that obviously life is bigger than, I mean, just sticking around and eating, and there is life is out there, outside where he lives with his mom and his sisters. So I don't know whether you agree with the statement or not. So that adventure contributes to
Yes,
Peter's.
doctor. Obviously, we agree with this statement
Hmm.
because when someone do something wrong, he will understand and pay attention to the causes that cause the mistakes.
You
So
mean
he
he
will
or
never
she
return
can
to do it
learn?
again. Yeah,
People can
obviously.
learn from their errors and mistakes, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
in the novel that maybe Peter, we feels that in the end of the story, he feels and knows the consequences of his action, how he
Hmm.
just do not learn to his mom and just go to the farmer. So I believe,
Yeah.
yeah, he just learned a lesson and it was hard.
Okay, but it's not all bad news. The fact that he embarked on this kind of adventure was not all bad, right?
Yeah,
So
of
the
course.
decision to so because we're in a minute we're going to talk about this idea of disobedience, whether he disobeyed his mother and whether this is good or bad. We'll talk about that and this issue later. But let's just focus on how he learned from the experience. And obviously, it was a hard and it was a difficult experience for him, right? The adventure itself, he could have uh, become a pie like his father. Remember what happened with his father?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's
Sad
not
as
only
it.
about, sorry.
So he learned from the experience of his father, obviously, and he went through the experience himself. Perhaps the reason why he was not caught is because he took his or he kept his guard up, like they say. I mean, he took care so that he wouldn't fall into the trap like his father. So as you can see, it's a lot of lessons that Peter is learning, and that would contribute to his growth and maturity, which means that perhaps the Peter that we meet at the end of the picture book is different from the Peter of the first part. You may think of him at the beginning as immature, as reckless, as childish, but at the end he is different. He is kind of hardened by the experience. And remember, the experience was difficult, and he could have killed himself. I mean, Mr. Kruger, Matt Kruger, could have caught him, and you know what would have uh, been his destiny or fate. If he was caught, he could have been eaten up like his dad. Okay, so would you like to comment on that?
Yeah, I believe that too, that he become more wiser in the end of the story. Maybe he will think 1,000 times before just going out for next time. So maybe he just learned how to be a wise.
Let's agree. Let's establish the fact that going out was not bad. He had to do it so that he can learn. But perhaps the way he did it, he could have been perhaps more obedient. He could have shown that he is not totally in disobedience when it comes to his mom and her kind of commands and orders and stuff like that. طيب, let's move to Zahra. Zahra wants to say something. Go ahead.
Yes, I think the idea of that the adventure was not a bad idea is reinforced by the fact that he didn't get a rough moral lesson at the end. So he learned and he got grounded through his fear, through his adventure. And then at the end, he is a grown up now rabbit. So, and the way his mother dealt with him, she only gave him a communality with no hard moral lesson or no harsh words. I think this is reinforced the idea that adventure was a path for development.
Yeah, okay. You're trying to say that it is true that his mom was, of course, kind of afraid and scared that he may, something bad may have happened to him. But she still, deep down, from her behavior, the fact that she didn't beat him up, for example, she only gave him chamomile tea, which is meant to treat him, right? These are all instances that she was not totally against what she did, perhaps what he did. Perhaps she wanted him to learn, but she couldn't have said it in an explicit way. Okay, Maram.
Yes, doctor.
Yeah.
I believe that the story um, it's about the rabbit becoming more mature and becoming wise, learning from his mistakes, and etc. But isn't this in some way encouraging children for disobedience?
Yeah, this is a very good point, and this is what we're going. This is going to be our second or perhaps upcoming point. We're going to talk about this idea of disobedience and whether we think it's really disobedience or more of an opportunity for development and for growth. You can also consider it some kind of revenge. And I know the word revenge is a bad thing. I mean, taking revenge is not always good, but it can also be interpreted as Peter trying to take revenge from the one who killed his father. And taking revenge does not mean that he had this kind of knife and he went in order to stab his father. Um, he was trying to annoy him. He was trying to, eat as much as he can, and obviously eating as much as he can will be felt by the guy when he goes uh, to the farm and he finds that part of the plants that he is growing are not there. This is going to make him angry and upset. Perhaps he wanted to upset uh, this person. So to say that this was literal disobedience is perhaps something that we need to think about. Fatma Bilal.
Yes, doctor. I was
Yeah.
just going to say that it's not just about him learning from his mistakes, but he also got a perspective of the world beyond his safe house, and in that maybe mentally he will mature in how to deal with the outside world.
Yeah, again, this is what we call initiation, if you're familiar with anthropology. Sometimes in certain countries and in certain cultures, they normally have a boy. When the boy reaches a certain age, they ask him to go into the forest. And of course, if you go to the jungle or the forest, you have wild animals, and he has to kind of fend for himself and then come back in one piece, solid, which means that he is not hurt or killed. If he comes back not killed, it means that he became mature and he is ready to perhaps get married, to take on a leadership role in his tribe. So this is actually what is happening. So perhaps Peter was thrown into this through no fault of his own. He came out and he came to realize, he didn't even realize this, he realized that later, that his father is, and that he is fatherless. He's an orphan. And when he asked, he was given this implicit answer that his father was made into a pie. Again, um, so he went through the experience so that perhaps to avoid having the same kind of fate or destiny being killed and slaughtered and everything in between. So it's full of benefits. It's maturity that he attained and gained over um, the period that he spent. Again, it's sometimes you call it a metaphorical uh, um, um, pilgrimage. Um, when you go on a pilgrimage, when you go, it's normally about normally we're talking about pilgrimage in the old sense, where you have to, where it wasn't easy as it is now, and of course, on the road you may have all types of hardships. You learn new things. You go to the place and you worship, and when you come back, you come different. Um, it's also a metaphorical journey, also from ignorance to knowledge. At the beginning, he was not very aware of what was happening around him. He was not well versed into the ways of the world, but at the end, obviously, he changed. Um, so this is what we have here. In Beatrice Potter's The Tale of Peter Rabbit, the concept of adventure plays a major role in Peter's growth and maturation. Throughout the tale, Peter's adventurous spirit drives him to explore the world beyond the safety of his home. His decision to venture into Mr. McGregor's garden against his mother's warnings and wishes sets in motion a series of events that lead to high risk and self discovery. And then we have examples when he sneaks into the garden, and the danger that he encountered, whether it's the gardener himself. So again, through being exposed to these things, he is now facing the realities of the outside world. And again, he is going to learn how to take responsibility for his actions, and he also learns how to navigate challenges and how to take decisions. So again, the Peter that we meet at the end of the picture book is totally different from the one that we meet at the very start. This is a variation on the same thing. The Tale of Peter Rabbit, or in the Tale of Peter Rabbit, adventure can be interpreted as a step towards maturity and growing up. We're all agreed on that, right? So it's an allegory. It's the kind of metaphor for the journey of maturity. Remember when I told you about this idea of initiation, which some tribes make for boys. Um, so his disobedience and subsequent escapades in Mr. McGruger's garden represent a realistic depiction of childhood and an attempt to assert independence and the testing of boundaries. So he went through a series of trials and tribulations, and of course, he learns from that. So again, you may want to think of Beatrice Potter meaning to say this. Perhaps she has this aim, this didactic aim. Didactic means that she's trying to give a moral lesson. So it's the whole experience is very transformative. It's you can think of the tale also as a coming of age story, where you normally have an innocent boy, but over time he again embarks on adventures, and he faces all kinds of difficulties, so that at the end he emerges triumphant, and he is totally different. So this is another.
Is
Yeah.
allegory the same as subliminal messages, or is it different goals?
um, can you
A subliminal
read?
message, like when they put it in the advertisements and stuff like that, like hidden messages. Is that
You
the same
mean
as the allegory? or allegory?
Um, an allegory is some kind of analogy. Analogy, you know what a metaphor is, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So, so obviously,
there should be.
uh, yes, it's when you compare. You want to give, like you're saying, you're trying to get a message across by comparing two unrelated things. For example, compare our life to a journey. So this is when you say that life is a journey, and you're this is some kind of metaphor or allegory. So
Yeah.
what we're having here is a big metaphor or allegory. The idea that Peter goes through all those kinds of hardships and he is a mere rabbit. This is a metaphor and an allegory in and of itself. Um, Again, of course, there are messages, but normally when we talk about Potter, we say that she is normally neutral. She doesn't want to be didactic. She is perhaps more focused on um, the anatomy of the characters that she draws. She is more concerned with the appeal that those kinds of drawings can have among children. And she says, or indirectly, that if there is a moral lesson, if people are going to pick a moral lesson here or there, that's fine. But this is not my main goal or aim. Again, if we talk about the idea of adventure, and if we talk about the idea of what comes out of this adventure. I mean, we spoke enough and long about the idea of maturity, becoming wiser, becoming more at home with the realities of life. We're obviously overlooking the fact that there is a group of people who believe that taking risks or not taking risks, this is downright wrong. Uh, Peter shouldn't have embarked on this journey or on this uh, uh, kind of adventure because this was against the wishes of his mom, and his mom should be obeyed. She is his parent, and she knows better. She knows what is in his best interest. So the fact that he decided not to follow her orders is obviously wrong according to some people. So you do have this idea of this opinion. If you see, you have um, a sense of contradiction. And this is, by the way, typical of good literature, where you can't have this straightforward interpretation of things. People differ and polarize over what is good and what is bad, what is moral and what is not. And this is perhaps, like I said, is the beauty of literature, that people are entitled to their opinions, provided that they can justify and back them up. So again, if you think that what Peter did was wrong, I would like you to raise your hand. Okay. So you don't believe that he was disobedient. You don't believe that what he did was disobedience, right? Okay. So what did he do? I mean, how? How do you describe what he did?
Can I, doctor?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he is not disobedient because in the end of the story, I believe that he just gave us a clear explanation that he's admit for the big fault that he's did it by just getting back to his home and just going to his mom, asking, not asking for help orally, no, he just going there and just keep silence. That's a kind of just relieving that he's feeling bad or he feel what's a huge mistake that he did when he just take this kind of rescue. So maybe because he learned that lesson by showing us these attitudes, I believe no, he's not disobedient. Maybe he just wanted to explore the outside world, and that's it. It's just a kind of adventure. Maybe if the novel end with second adventure or another trying from him to do something else, maybe this is a kind of disobedience. This is my opinion. It just يعني end to that limit. He didn't exceed it.
Yeah. It could have been disobedience if he got killed. In this case, we could have blamed him for putting himself in harm's way. But he emerged victorious. He could escape the clutches of Mr. McGruger, however hard that was. And again, one sign of him not being disobedient would be the attitude of the mother. It depends on how you see how she gave him the medicine, and obviously the idea of her administering him and also nursing him back to health is in and of itself a sign that she was not to, but she cannot, I mean, as a mother, she cannot afford not to give him medicine, obviously, right? So,
Maybe it's a sign of her forgiving him. Like, okay, she forgives him.
mm,
Not that she approves that he
mhm.
didn't listen, but she forgives him, even though he,
Yeah.
didn't listen to her.
What do you think, Emmanuel? Do you think that he was disobedient? Did you approve what he did?
I can't approve of somebody or a child going without their mother's permission, but I can understand it. I can understand him having the curiosity to want to discover or learn,
Mm.
but children have to tell their parents just for safety reasons.
Okay, so if we make it perhaps more symbolic
Maybe
and
he could have
more,
argued with her more to allow him to go on an adventure or supervision, even though this is a fairy tale, it's not real, but
yes. But you
we
need to
cannot
remember
make it
that you cannot,
100%.
yeah, you cannot convince your mom or your dad
Yeah,
of you going to a place and steal something from it.
yeah,
Obviously, what he did was kind of robbing the guy of things on his farm, right?
yes.
Um, again, if you think of it in a more allegorical and more symbolic way, you would say that, and perhaps that can be one of the excuses. You would say that he is a representation of victims, of people who have whose yeah, I mean
Who listen
people.
to corrupt authority or are
Yeah,
forced
he
under
is trying
corrupt
to stand
authority.
up, yeah, standing up to those in high places who are abusing their power.
I
So
agree
in
because
mm,
sometimes, even if it is symbolized as a parent, sometimes parents aren't really correct, or sometimes they're not really genuine, whether they're, for example, a stepmother, stepfather, or just
mm.
somebody who's, not really on the straight and narrow.
Yeah, and obviously I'm not talking about the mother. I'm talking about Mr. Matt Kruger, and of course we know that he is more of a like a killer or a murderer. The fact that I don't know, I don't want to give it
Yeah.
those very big dimensions. After all, we're talking about rabbits, and obviously human beings think that they are entitled to kill other animals and enjoy their whatever, right? So it's a little bit
Yes.
complicated. It depends on your perspective. It depends on whether you are an animal lover, because obviously people would hate Matt Kruger and find every justification possible for Peter if they get to know that he slaughtered the rabbit and made a pie out of him, right? So it depends on the perspective, it depends on your leanings and your tendencies.
And where you
Zahra,
fit it.
ah,
Yes.
yes.
Doctor.
Zahra,
Yeah,
go ahead. Yeah.
I think that Peter was not disobedient as much as he was just behaving with his innate childish uh,
Mhm.
uh, need for exploring what is
Yeah,
around. And
excellent. This is exactly what
um,
Manal said at one point, that we're talking about this idea of satisfying your sense of curiosity. The fact that as a child you're very curious
yeah,
and you want to explore the world, and there is obviously nothing wrong with that. Um,
and I
um,
think this is
yeah, go on.
reinsured. The fact that his disobedience is reinsured by the way he behaved, and he planned to get out of the garden and escape Mr. McGregor, and he asked for help, and he looked for the gate several times, and he was very cautious, and at the end he
You,
didn't get eaten. That's
yeah,
the
you
most
mean that
important.
was
So he was
a calculated kind of risk?
yeah, he was not
Mm,
just carelessly going to
mm,
the garden and
mhm.
eating. No, he was cautious. He learned something from there.
Okay, that's interesting. Okay. I think I have something on that. Let me see. No, this is the one I think. So, so how does Beatrice Potter subvert? Do you think that she subverted the traditional values in the Tale of Peter Rabbit? So, and what are those traditional values to start with? So, what traditional values do we have in the picture book? And let's see whether they were challenged, subverted means challenged, or they remained intact. Okay, Zahra.
Yeah, I think there's traditional values such as girls listening to their mother and being obedient, and that image was portrayed vividly through the three sisters. They listened to their mother. They even eat blueberries, and also the value that, again, gender rules. So Peter was a boy and he went on an adventure. But what was challenge is the fact that whether children should be obedient or not, to some
Okay,
extent. I mean,
okay. That's yeah, this is in a sense true. So some of those entrenched values would be the idea that you should obey your mom and your dad for that matter, which is obviously not happening here. So this is subversion of those values. Um, Again, whether this was for a good reason or not, this is perhaps besides the point. But we do have some subversion and some challenge of traditional values. Yeah,
Integrity, well, not to steal, not to take something that's not yours.
yeah. This is also one of the values that we keep instilling in our kids: not to steal, not to lie. Um, I don't know what he told her when he went out. Did he tell her that he obviously he was also lying to her? I don't know. I
So
wasn't there.
honesty.
I wasn't there. Honesty is such a lonely word. I wasn't there, but I don't know whether how he went out. Obviously, he had to have some kind of alibi and some kind of excuse, which would go under the idea of dishonesty. So we do have subversion of traditional values, the values of honesty, the values of obedience. Again, it depends on your tendencies and your nature. If you are the rebellious kind like me, you wouldn't consider this subversion. You would even cherish and like the idea that I mean the idea of standing up uh, uh, against um, I don't know, perhaps dictatorships and corruption. And this is something that we're going to meet, by the way, in the other side of truth. You're going to like it because it has a lot of this child agency. What Peter did is some form of child agency when children take matters into their hands because their parents and society failed them. So they decide at one point to take matters into their hand and they run the show, if you like. So this is done on perhaps on a smaller scale in the tale of Peter Rabbit, but you're going to see it more pronounced in the other side of truth. Um, Somebody's raising her hand or something.
Yes, I have a question for you,
Yes,
Doctor. May I ask?
yes.
Would you read this story to your children?
Would I what?
Would you read this picture book or this
Mm,
story
yeah,
for your children?
absolutely. Yes. Yeah, yeah. Why not? um, unless I want them to be very docile, to be very submissive, to accept what comes their way without any questions asked. So you need, from time to time, you need to teach your kids, you know, um,
How to think for
values,
themselves.
yeah, values bigger than being just submissive, obedient, smiling, eating and watching television and browsing the internet. There is obviously more to life than just that. Independence, autonomy, the ability to think for themselves, like Manal is saying. Reliability. At one point, they are going to go out and meet people who are not very nice and very, but they have to know how to handle them and how to deal with them. So these are things that you cannot develop in your child if you keep your child within the confines of your home all the time, very overprotective. You don't want him or her to meet this or that person because they are a bad influence. And this is again what we're going to see in Voices in the Park, where you will have a mother who is thinking for her child, Charles, who is doing everything for him, who is, is of course domineering and controlling and everything. And this is going to be reflected in and on the character of Charles, the child. The child is going to be very fragile, very, timid, unable to take decisions for himself, as we're going to see. Yeah, Hadil is raising her hand.
Yes, doctor, allow me to say that you are a democratic father, and that's good for your children.
Yeah, I'm democratic, yes. Yes, I think I mean we all need to be that man, if you like. Children, especially with the if you don't allow them, they are going to allow themselves. I mean, obviously with the advent of the internet and AI, and you're not really in full control of what is happening. And if you so instead of like setting limits and being rigid, you need to be flexible so that you can befriend your kids, so that you need to win their hearts and minds so that they can listen to you.
Thank you so much, Doctor,
You're
for
welcome.
this answer. يعني هيك you have broadened our horizons. Thank you.
Welcome. So again, the idea was, or perhaps the polarizing idea in class is whether Peter is disobedient or not, and obviously the answer is traditionally he is perceived as disobedient, but perhaps from a 21st century perspective, he is not. He is very normal. And again, you would add to that the idea of exploring and discovering, whether this discovery is self-discovery or discovering the outside world, right? So this is some kind of initiation. Culturally, this is some kind of stepping into the real world. Uh, what else do we have? Let me see if I have different. Hmm. So is it a tale of rebellion and breaking boundaries, which is obviously a variation on the idea of disobedience? Do you
It's
think
one way
that
to look at it.
let's talk about that. The idea that, according to some people, this is a tale of rebellion and going be challenging the limits and perhaps pushing the envelope uh, too far or too much. So, what do you think? Is it a tale of rebellion? And is rebellion always bad news? This is my question, or my second, or my follow-up question. Is rebellion always bad news? Okay, let's have Maram.
Yes, doctor. So, is it a tale of rebellion or being rebellious? It's one way to look at it. Is rebellion always bad news? Absolutely
And
not.
I'm sorry, Maram, to cut you off, but I think this is important. When you have questions where you have this choice of either agreeing or disagreeing, you cannot stay on the fence. You need to agree or disagree. You need to say, yes, I think it's a tale of rebellion, and then you start to illustrate and give examples and develop the idea. Or you think it's not. So you have to stick there. So the idea of staying on the fence, giving the two opinions is obviously not something that people in your level should do. You should agree or disagree. I'm not talking about you, Yamaram. I'm talking in general. Um,
Okay, no
okay,
problem.
so let's go back to Maram because I forgot what you were saying actually. Yeah.
Yeah, I said it's one way to look at it.
What do you mean
Yeah,
by
it is.
this?
Yeah, it is. It is a story of being rebellious, a tale of being rebellion.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
how he didn't
it
knew
is. You
how
mean
he
it
thought.
has this sense of rebellion to it? Who is rebelling and against whom?
Um, um, Peter, obviously,
Yeah.
he's
Hmm.
the protagonist. And you asked another question: is being rebellion always bad news? Yeah, absolutely not. Um, and we should always be rebellious against what is wrong, what is towards also injustice.
Hmm. Okay. Let's have Hadid because you're raising your hand.
Yes,
Yeah.
I do not think it is an issue of rebellion, but
Mhm.
rather encouraging children to engage in personal experiences, to know their strengths and weaknesses. And this
Mhm.
is a pivotal step in their process of maturity and development. This is my opinion.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Diala.
Yes, doctor. Actually, I'm agree with that this is just a novel of rebellions because I believe that Potter's own feelings about individual freedom and just her experience to constraints of the accept paternalistic Victorian society. Like I'm talking about the author. I'm not talking about the novel itself, because how I just discovered that, like when she just chose Peter, how he stand for rebellion for all of the fronts in the hero, because we know that the hero of the story in that time, he is rebellions. So he is just the significant perspective for grounding of her protagonist. In another way, the rebellious figures is just challenging the authority that it's established order in the society. So Peter in the novel, like he just used his courage, his leadership, his intelligence just to discover the world. So I believe, yes, he's a kind of rebellious character.
Yeah. Okay. That's like I said, everyone is entitled to his or her opinion, provided that you back this up with a solid argument. So again, yeah, he can be rebellious, and obviously he is rebelling against a number of authorities. You would have the authority of um, the parents as given by his mother. Sometimes, like Manal said at one point, I mean, parents are not always correct or right. Sometimes they make errors and mistakes, and but because they are our parents, we have a tendency to kind of overlook those kinds of errors unless they are fatal, and sometimes they are. So you also have the character of Mr. MacGruber as also a figure of authority, a figure of you can think of him um, as what? Who do you think is more natural? Who is more who is closer to nature, the rabbit or Mr. Kruger?
The rabbit.
The rabbit, yeah. Okay, so you may think of Mr. Matt Kruger as I mean, a violator and a challenger of nature. He is a disruptor of nature. Remember what he did to the father of Peter, and obviously the father of Peter is no different from Peter because he is also an element of nature. So you would have this kind of conflict between nature and human beings. And obviously, you know, we have this tendency as human beings to mess with things. We never leave anything alone. I mean, we normally have this negative magic touch. We have a tendency to spoil and destroy everything. So perhaps this is rebellion, but not a wrong-headed kind of rebellion. It's a rebellion in the right direction. So I wouldn't call it rebellion in this case. I would call it a revolution. And I think you have done this was in A230B, which is obviously fresh because you may have finished it like a semester ago. Remember when we spoke about the Indian mutiny? So for mutiny is like rebellion. For the English occupier, it is called a mutiny or a rebellion. But for the Indians, it's a revolution. So revolution is when you decide to say enough is enough. I'm not able to put up with the amount of injustice that I'm feeling and see. So I wouldn't I mean, perhaps some people would consider it rebellion, but I would consider it some kind of revolution. You're revolting against injustices being meted out against you and your loved ones and your family, your I mean your people and stuff. So this is an interesting idea. Whether you think of the picture book as a tale of rebellion and transgression. Again, when you think of rebellion, when you talk about rebellion, you have archetypal examples of rebellion. You would think, but perhaps negative ones when you talk about perhaps the what archetypal examples of rebellion would be who is that archetypal kind of rebellion? I think of Satan, the devil, for example, as an example, a negative one, of course. But down through the ages, you would have benign, what I call benign. benign يعني حميد مش سرطاني مش خبيث يعني. Benign kinds of rebellion, which we can otherwise call revolutions, and we have plenty of them. Okay, so let's move on. What do you think of the representation of men and women in the novel or in this picture book? What do you think of the representation? Is it fair? Is it true? Or is it biased?
Yeah, I think the mother takes all the responsibility because the father is dead. For example, she goes to the baker's at the beginning.
Okay.
Sorry.
Um, mm, but this is positive, right?
I think the representation is stereotyped.
Yeah. Is it biased? Biased in the sense that you have stereotypical representation of women
Yes,
as docile, as
absolutely.
non-assertive, as weak, as very.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
Type.
I
Let's
think
talk
that
about the. Yeah, go ahead.
so I think Beatrix, even though she represented the three sisters as obedient, which is very stereotypical, but she represented the mother, which is an adult character, as a very strong and independent. She went to get food. She
But
gave
there is a reason
instructions.
for that. Remember that the father figure
Yeah,
is
yeah, the
missing.
absence of
Yeah,
the father.
if the father was there, he could have eclipsed her character. He could have subdued her. She could have become another docile female character in the picture book, right?
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, certainly you've got a
Mm,
point. Yeah, I agree with
mm,
you.
mm. What do you think? So, traditional representation, which is full of bias and prejudice against women primarily. I mean, look at the girls and how they are presented, the sisters. Um,
No, I don't think so.
yeah, let's talk about it, ya
I don't
Fatima.
think so only because they don't dive into the characters of the girls. Maybe they're rebellious on their own way, which is not portrayed in the story.
Well, but this is how they are presented, right? You cannot, we're not given events and actions that would indicate that they are otherwise. They are made they are made to sound and look this way. We're only judging what we see on the page, right? So how they are presented is obviously very passive. So the idea now is whether we agree with this kind of presentation and representation or not. And I want you to answer me. Are you happy with this representation of women in aside from the character of the mother? Then obviously the mother is only one person, but you have three other female characters, right?
Yes,
No,
I
What
I
do
still
you
agree.
agree
think?
that they're represented, like in my opinion, because I think I have to keep an account as well when the story was written, and at that time, I would say societal expectations of girls was just to be, as you said, passive,
Hmm.
but that's just the picture that we're shown.
Yeah, which
They were
is
more
obviously,
quiet at the time. So I don't
yeah.
think it was a misrepresentation. I think that is how they probably did behave at the time this novel was written.
Yeah, which is obviously not good. I mean, society, if society approves of something, it doesn't mean that it is good. The society can be conservative, can be hypocrite and hypocritical, and we have that, right? Women have always been dehumanized and abused down through the ages. Does it mean that the societies were fair and square and everything in between? Hmm. Not really, right?
Yes.
Hmm. Okay, well, I think we have Bara. She wants to say something.
Yes, sir. Actually, in general, I'm happy with it. Let's say that the novel focuses as primarily on the adventure of Peter and his siblings rather than on gender-related themes. But for example, it doesn't give a negative view of women in general. Also, um, for example, like Mrs. Rabbit is portrayed as a strong and capable character who cares for her family and ensures their well-being. So it doesn't give any negative thing, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's interesting. And I mean, like I said, I mean, you may agree and you may disagree, but you need to back up your statement with a solid argument for or against. And I'm not kind
Yes, for
of
sure.
imposing my opinion on
Got
you.
you. Yeah.
Ah, okay. So,
It's give like a positive representation for women. However, like the story is focused primarily on the adventure, um, but not gender. Yeah, it doesn't
yeah.
give also like authoritized figure of women. It's actually
Ah,
it's their life in general. This is the
yeah.
truth.
Um, Maram, are you raising your hand? Well, you forgot it from last
No,
time.
I am raising my hand.
Okay, go
Okay,
ahead.
so the stereotyping point of view is not
Typical.
found. Yeah, okay, it's not found between mother and father because the father is absent. So the mother, she is taking care of the family. She is being a good mom to her children, etc., etc. But looking at Peter and his sisters, he's getting all the attention.
Yeah,
They're
and
only
this is
focusing.
yeah, which is fair or not fair, which is a good representation. If you have, let me put it this way. So how many female folks do we have, and how many male folks do we have? Who
Uh,
is bigger in number?
his sisters, but
Ah,
he's
I mean
attention.
the mother and the girls, obviously, right?
Yes, yes,
And
yes,
in spite of this, male representation is bigger, is huge or more huge, right?
yes.
And it's all about Peter and what he does and what he doesn't, right?
Exactly. And this is seen not just in a picture book, this is seen in through all the ages, through all the years,
Mhm. Which
in
does
modern
not
reality.
make it right, right?
Exactly.
Okay, good.
And also, Doctor, the sister did nothing when Peter was on his way going to the garden. They didn't say anything. They didn't try to, you know, tell
Help.
him not to go or something. They were
Mhm.
just passive.
Yeah, they are presented as non-assertive, as passive, as recipients of whatever comes their way, whether it's food, whether it's instructions and orders. So, what we're trying to stress is this is not what women are. Yeah, this is what we're trying to say. Or this is not what should women be perceived. And obviously, there is more to girls and women than um, being portrayed like that. This is what I'm trying to say. So, uh, for those who believe that there is this sense of disobedience in permeating the picture book, and if we agree on the fact that um, Peter disobeyed his mother, do you think disobedience is what kind of reaction do we have? Is it perhaps punished or rewarded? How do you look at that?
I think the disobedient was a gate to growth and development.
Okay. So again, this is something that Peter is going to realize perhaps much later when he grows up. But let's talk about the other people's reaction. The mother, for example. Let's look at her reaction and see whether disobedience was met with approval and reward, or was it met with disapproval and punishment? What do you
I
think?
think the mother expected this disobedient because when Peter come home, she told him that this is the second time he loses his jacket and his shoes. So this is not something new for Peter to do.
Mhm.
As well as she didn't give him harsh punishment. It was only a chamomile tea, no
Mm.
harsh word, no
Yeah.
anything. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Anybody else? Okay.
Can I,
So
doctor?
can you wait?
Just to answer for your question, I'm not having much to add, but just I believe that Peter can escape from all the punishment that he deserved, except that he just have maybe a pain in his tummy when he just eat more than he needs.
Mhm.
So
You mean this
that's
is
it.
punishment enough? I
No,
mean,
of
the
course
fact
not.
that, yeah.
No, of
No,
course
no,
not.
what I'm trying
That's
to
enough.
say that this is some kind of punishment, the fact that he has a stomach ache. And
Yes,
perhaps the punishment for eating too much, which is gluttony. Gluttony is one of the seven deadly sins in Christianity. Um, when you eat too much, and also when you steal too much, obviously. Um, okay, I had a thought, but it just flew away. Uh, I wanted to talk about something. Let me see. Um, so with all what we've been saying about Peter and the girls, um, and in a final analysis, who do you relate to? Who do you feel some kind of affinity with? Who do you identify with? Peter or his sisters?
Peter, absolutely.
Peter.
Why? Yeah, yeah. Yeah, for mm, for the whatever we've been talking about, right? Again, this is perhaps deliberate, and this is also traditional. You normally feel um, you identify with the main character, and the main character happens to always be male, right? And of course, we're not going to go into details about why he deserves and earns this kind of admiration and this kind of connection with him. We have spoken long and enough about him. I think I finished what I'm supposed to finish today. And I don't intend to start the Voices in the Park. I'll give you some space. I would like you to read Voices in the Park. I don't know whether you have the text or not. I would like you to read it on your own so that when we talk about it tomorrow, you have knowledge of what is happening. So do you have the picture book? Hmm?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, doctor.
Okay, so can I ask you to prepare it for tomorrow, inshallah? We have a class tomorrow, right? Is it tomorrow?
Yeah, yes, doctor. In the
Okay,
same time.
Yeah, at the same time. So until then, I would like you to think of the questions that we have asked, and I would like you to develop answers for them. If you would like to write essays and perhaps share them on the WhatsApp group, we can talk about them. Yeah, that would be nice. So tomorrow, inshallah, we're going to start and perhaps finish Voices in the Park because it's not big and it's very nice, very short and sweet. Okay, Ms. Zahra, you're raising your hand.
Yeah, doctor, about the course you told us to enroll in. I've already finished it and they sent me the attendance certification.
MashaAllah, good. Did you benefit from it, yeah, Zahra?
Yeah, it was relatable to our course, very relatable.
Yeah, nice. Who else participated in the course or attended or signed up?
Yeah, I
Me,
finished it as well.
Nice. Did you like it, everyone?
Yes, like she said, it was relatable.
Nice, very good. Did I say that I'm going to give you a mark for that?
Yes, doctor.
Okay, I will,
Yes.
inshallah.
Yes, and
doctor.
doctor,
Shall we send you, doctor, the certificate?
Excuse me?
Shall we send you the the attendance certificate? Do you need it?
I'm being generous this time around. This part of
Thank you.
so I'll give everybody a mark. You still have
Thank you,
four.
doctor. Thank you, doctor.
You're
Doctor, can I ask you something, please? Could you
Yeah,
please, if
ask
you
me
have,
something.
thank you. Could you please, if you have any material or a document for the discussions that we just discussed today, could you just please, doctor, send it in WhatsApp group?
Inshallah. Okay, I will.
Thank you so
Of
much.
course, you have the recording itself, but that's fine.
Yeah. Thank you, doctor.
Doctor,
Yes.
this is my first time to attend the class, as I told you in an email. I
Yeah.
faced technical issues to registration in the summer course. Would you please send me an email the most important documents like articles that you have sent to my colleagues?
Can you repost them on the WhatsApp? I think I sent you things on the. I would like you to first of all. Are you part of the group that we have, the WhatsApp group? Yeah, Hadi?
Yes.
Okay,
I don't know if
so
you are with us or
I don't
know. But yes, I'm on the one of WhatsApp groups. Yes, for summer
Right,
course.
anyway.
There's a group with the doctor. Are you there? Because the document is already there in the document section.
So can you give her the link, the WhatsApp
Yes,
group
please,
link?
if you don't mind.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Right. And then I would like somebody else to repost what we have sent on the WhatsApp group so that Hadil can pick up whatever she wants.
I will, doctor.
ممتاز. طيب, on this note and with this item, we'll come to the end of this lovely meeting. And I'll see you tomorrow, inshallah, with the voices in the park.
يعطيك العافية دكتور.
Alam.
Thank you, doctor.
You're welcome.
Thank you, doctor.
Welcome.